Good afternoon, everyone. We've all heard some facts and figures about how the government works with SMEs. Hopefully I'm going to give you some relevant context to that. I'm a Scottish supplier and I supply to the UK government. We set up in 2006. At that time, I was in the process of being made redundant. I had nothing to lose. I didn't know anything about running a business, and I certainly didn't know anything about the minefield that was public procurement at that time. I started very much like most of you here today. I came to these events. I started to speak to buyers. A lot of the talk did go over my head, if I'm honest with you. I really was looking to speak to a supplier who could talk to me about a grassroots level approach. So I want to talk to you about my journey, and hopefully I want to finish up by giving you some tips of how to submit successful bids and really the approaches to take. Firstly, we have to register on tender portals. That's the way to get these opportunities. It takes minutes to register on Contracts Finder, Public Contracts Scotland, and the benefit to it is that we get the notifications in advance and we have to read and reread. For me, it was important before I started to bid that I got some experience, and I wasn't going to get that unless I successfully had a win. So I started to do some work for free. I contacted 5 public sector organisations. I offered my free services for a number of months. What that gave me was an evidence base. It allowed me to showcase what I could do. It was me, a laptop, and work at the kitchen table. And they were very gracious enough to give me fantastic testimonials. And I took the testimonials and the case studies I had, and that was the evidence I used to start bidding. Now, I started very small. I probably looked at very small housing associations. I started also to look at small councils. We provide claims management services, so it's quite a niche market that we operate in. And I used that to start bidding, and it was fantastic. We had a 70% success rate, because at that time SMEs weren't that common in the public sector market in general. And it allowed me over 3 years to build up a client base, names, experience and evidence. And it also gave me the confidence to start bidding for larger contracts. And I think you do need confidence to a certain extent. So 2009 was an absolute turning point for our business. We picked up 5 of the largest UK local authorities. We built up that book of business. Every tender was an opportunity to reach for the stars. Let's go for the next biggest tender, and really to build up that track record and reputation. I always wanted to work for the UK government because I felt that the contracts there could really transform the business, but I had to wait a little bit of time for the right contract to come up. But in 2015 it did. First attempt at it, CCS framework, and we were awarded the exclusive supplier to a lot and insurance services tender. Now that means that we can work for 15 central government departments and also arm's length bodies. Working for the government has absolutely transformed my business. We're based in Glasgow. We now work for the BBC, the Ministry of Defence, Ministry of Justice. We've got a workforce of 40. I've now opened a new office in London. The good news, however, for everyone in this room is that you don't need to wait 3 years to get that opportunity. There were a number of hurdles in place at that time. They don't exist anymore, but you have to be in it to win it. So I've got some tips that I think will help you get to the next stage, because it's all about showcasing the best of your company and actually putting that quality and personal touch into the bid. I started out probably pretty insecure. My competitors were large global organisations, 3,000 offices throughout the world, and I felt I had to compete with that. The truth was I don't. Buyers now, they want to work with SMEs. We just need to give them a variety of choice. They want to hear about our personal journey. They want to hear about why you set up the company, what you've achieved in your career and what you hope to achieve. Getting the tone of the tender response for me is absolutely important. And we all need to let go of past frustrations, because we have been disappointed. If you've ever bid in the past for public sector contracts, we know that there have been hurdles, but now it's time to start engaging positively with buyers. We now need to start speaking to them before opportunities come up, and we need to understand how to sell our services to them. So my advice would be, don't employ a tender writer. Nobody is as passionate about your business and knows more about it than you. No one is interested in reading business speak marketing literature. We've got to inject some personality and also heart into our tender responses. And I think to do that, we need to talk about our journey. So I think that's very important. The fourth tip I have, if you take nothing else away today, please trust me when I say that injecting evidence into your tender bids is the difference from scoring 3 out of 5 for a question to scoring 5 out of 5. And by that I mean we're often asked questions about how we would implement the service, the staff that we would use. When you're answering those questions, inject a case study, talk about what you've done before, how you've successfully managed that for another client. It doesn't need to be an existing client. It doesn't need to be a public sector client. It could be an organisation that you worked with in a previous job. But if you inject that evidence base, it gives the buyer much more confidence about your ability. The final tip I would give you is, everybody's frustrated sometimes about the length of time tenders take. If I could ask you to start to view tenders as an investment of your time, we're all too busy working in the business to work on it, and that's a common problem, but we've got to cut that habit at some point. If you get a no, and you're likely to get a no in some instances, find out where you went wrong, ask the buyer for feedback. This is how I use tenders as a stepping stone to get the yes. Find out the questions you lost points on, improve them for the next bid. One yes can make a dramatic change to your business. It certainly has for mine. We have generated sales of over 10 million working in the public sector alone. There are so many examples I can give you over the course of time about things that I've done well, things I've done particularly badly. So I would love to see you at the CCS stand if you have time today to share your experiences and to answer your questions, and hopefully to give you some practical advice.